Good evening. Welcome to Community Homeworks. We're glad you're joining us this evening. This is our first official in-person and virtual workshop at Community Homeworks. Unfortunately, we only have virtual people tonight, so we did invite others as well. In the future, if you would like to attend one of our upcoming workshops, please give us a call at Community Homeworks and let us know. You can call and talk to Zack. Our number is 269-998-3275, or you can email education@communityhomeworks.org, and we can get you signed up for those workshops. In the next week or so, we hope to have our online registration up and running. And basically, we just want to have registration working so that we know how many people to expect and we don't have too many surprises with people showing up who we're not expecting. We are asking that all of our participants stay masked for the entire time that they're in the building. We are allowing our presenters to take their masks off so that we can actually hear their voices. So, my name is Jason Biden. I am the education manager here at Community Homeworks. If you have questions about our programs, if you want more information, make sure you visit our website. And tonight's workshop is something we've never offered before. We're really excited about it. We're calling it, what we're calling it, buying a home, or first time buying a home. So we want this to be an educational piece for folks who are starting the process or looking at buying a home, because there's a lot of loose ends and a lot of things we need to learn very quickly as you get thrown into the mix. Our presenters tonight, we have all the way on the right side of your screen, we have Zack Hunkens, and Zack works at Community Homeworks as our
Navigation support specialist.
Navigation support specialist. Thank you, Zack. And Zack is a recent new home buyer, so we will talk to him in just a second. In the middle of your screen, showing up twice, we have Twala Lockett-Jones, who is a realtor here in the area, and we'll let her share more in a minute. And all the way to the left side of your screen, we have Tim Williams from Timberland
Home Inspections.
Timberland Home Inspections. So, Zack, can you tell us a little bit more about what your home buying experience was like, or why you're here?
My first home buying experience, to put it in one word, would probably be crazy. It's a lot to learn, and it was a very long process, but I did land in my first home here about a month ago. And with all the hard work me and my brother put into it, was really rewarding to finally get our keys.
Great. Well, congratulations on the new home. We're glad you're able to get in and have a place of your own. Twala, can you tell us a little bit about your business and what you do as a realtor?
Absolutely. So my name is Twala Lockett-Jones. I own Lockett-Jones Realty Group. I am a realtor. I help guide people through the home buying process. So that involves a lot of education. There's a lot of paperwork involved. In this market, there's a lot of showings, and not always with a happy ending. But there's a lot that goes into a home purchase. So we try to just educate the buyers about what they're about to, the roller coaster ride they're about to take.
Great. And Tim, what would you like to tell us about what you do?
So again, Timberland Home Inspections. We do just general home inspections. We also do radon testing. We partner with Pest Road Michigan for pest inspections. So, once your agent helps you find that dream home, we come in and give an assessment of the home. Check it from roof to foundation for any major minor issues. Issue a full report, the same day of the inspection, so that you can make an informed decision. At that point, you get with your agent, see what might be able to be negotiated. I know in this market, sometimes it's come down to no negotiations. You can either accept the house as is or move on. But that's what we do.
All right, great. And Twala, you mentioned before the broadcast that you're working on a project right now to help people understand why it's important to be a homeowner. Can you tell us a little bit more about your project?
Sure. So I'm writing a book. It's called Princess Mackie's Buys a House. It's a children's book written for third to fifth grade girls. Anybody can read it, but the storyline is kind of aimed at third through fifth graders. Um, the story follows a young girl and her mother through the journey of home ownership. The young girl, they live in an apartment right now above an older couple, and they can't have a pet. They can't paint the walls. They can't make a lot of noise because they do not own the home. So this little girl, her name is Princess Mackie, and she says, I can't be a princess because I don't have a castle. I need my own castle. So that sends them on this journey to home ownership. And through the pages of the book, um, young people will learn the process of owning a home and the importance of property ownership, and their parents can also learn the steps involved in purchasing a home.
Why is it important that somebody purchase property instead of just renting or instead of staying with friends or whatever? There's lots of different situations.
Yeah, there's so many benefits to home ownership. Um, One of the biggest benefits is generational wealth building. So many people that you talk to who are financially secure, a lot of their net worth is in the real estate that they own. So that is probably one of the key reasons that you want to own your home, and it also gives you a voice. When you own in a neighborhood, you have more of a say of what happens in your neighborhood versus if you're a renter. If something's planned for your neighborhood and you're renting, you really don't have much say about what goes on. The owner of the property gets a say or gets a letter from the city about, you can come and speak on this topic, but usually a renter doesn't have much say about what happens, in that community. Um, just also having something that you can pass down to the next generation, or a way to step up to a nicer, more expensive home later.
Great. Tim, what's your take on it? Why is it important for somebody to own a home rather than renting?
I think there's I guess what I call pride in ownership. It's yours. It's something, you take care of, something you take pride in. And, you see it. There's a difference between, driving in the neighborhood. You can sometimes almost tell the homes that are rental homes and the homes that are, that people actually own. There's just, like I said, that pride in ownership. And over time, build that equity. Like Twala said, it gives you the opportunity to move into something nicer, as things move on and you get more financially stable.
Great. Zach, what's your experience? I assume you rented before you bought, or how did you decide you wanted to be a homeowner?
I just felt it was time. Well, it was a collective decision between me and my partner. We felt it was time. We're getting close to 30, and if we ever wanted, we've always wanted to be homeowners, and we just felt that where we were at with our jobs and our careers, and we're approaching 30, and we want to start having kids in the next couple of years. That we just felt it was our time to go for it.
All right. How did you make that decision though? Was it just a spur of the moment? Okay, this is the time you're going to bite the bullet, or
We probably had talked about it for, I want to say maybe 8 months to a year before we finally decided, we have enough money now, and we're kind of beforehand we were looking at a third floor apartment, and there was a lot of stairs, and quite frankly we were tired of them, so we wanted to go for it at that time. And also it was just kind of echoing what everyone said over here. We felt that we wanted to have our own stake, our own piece of property, our own equity, if you will.
what's the first thing you did to your home to make it your own?
The day we got the keys, we ripped up all the carpet in the living room and painted all the walls.
Okay. And
It was not as easy as we originally anticipated.
it never is.
No.
It never is. And was that something that you knew that you were going to need to do? Is that something that your home inspector pointed out, or just something that you said, okay, this carpet has to go?
No, the carpet was actually in really good shape, but we just wanted to make it our own. And we knew that underneath the carpet, although in good shape, there were some beautiful hardwood floors underneath of them. So we wanted to really, we just, it was a preference thing. We like hardwood floors, so we decided to tear it all up, and now we have hardwood floors.
Very nice. Twala, can you tell us about some of the barriers that are out there for homeowners? What things are people up against in wanting to become a homeowner?
Right now, this market that we're in is probably the biggest barrier for people. We're in what we refer to as a seller's market. Seller's market is where there's, the whole law of supply and demand. So a seller's market is when there's not much inventory, but there's a lot of buyers. And that's what we're up against and have been up against for the last couple of years now. So that's a huge barrier. Right now, we're also seeing interest rates are going up. They've edged up a little bit, somewhere around 4.5%, I think, right now, and possibly going up to closer to 5% by the end of the year. And that can literally change a person's buying power by several $1,000s. So it could be the difference, like 0.5% could be the difference from being approved from 170 down to maybe 150 with just a small change in the percentage, interest rate. So I say those are a couple of barriers. Credit, having a good credit score, a good credit history. I'm seeing that as one of the big barriers, and the saving for the down payment. Having those down payment funds is another large barrier for a lot of people.
Jeff, would you like to address barriers, or would you like to move on to different questions?
I can address it. One of the barriers is getting a home inspection done. You find the home of your dreams or whatever, and maybe the foundation isn't so sound, and it's part of the process. But you spent money, paid me to do the home inspection, so we are, hundreds of dollars into it. But you're saving yourself from possibly tens of thousands of dollars in home repairs in the future. So there's upsides and downsides to everything we do, but it's just, like I say, going in, knowing what you're getting into, just being informed.
Okay, great. Zach, is there any barriers that you faced that you'd like to share about? I don't want you to get too personal if it's a personal story, but is there anything you'd like to share about what things you ran into that you weren't expecting?
Well, your down payment and closing costs is a barrier because it's a lot of money. It took a long time to save up that money. But I would honestly, the biggest barrier right now is probably what Twala said is it's a seller's market. From what I saw there, sellers can basically ask what they want for it. They'll get multiple bids, sometimes over 20 bids, and they can just pick the best bid out of the lot. And when you're someone in me and my partner's shoes, it wasn't a very easy thing to accomplish because there is just so much competition out there right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So suppose somebody like Zach and his partner are getting ready to purchase a house, or they're thinking about purchasing a house. What's the first thing they would need to do? First.
As a first-time home buyer, I encourage people to actually start saving for your down payment. You want to do that, right away. You can never save too much, So start saving for a down payment. Know where you are with your credit. So go and talk to a loan officer, Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services. I send all first-time home buyers to KNHS for their home buyer education. I think that's very, very important because it not only sets the expectation, but they also have so many resources that you can take advantage of, including down payment assistance. There's some grants out there for that. So just starting at Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services. If you're in Kalamazoo, most cities will have their own version of a home ownership center. I would definitely tell somebody to start there.
Okay. How about you, Tim? What would you suggest for somebody who's just getting started? What's their first step?
I honestly, I'd refer them to the realtor. I mean, we're just a step in the middle of that, but
Okay.
they're the best resource to guide them along the way. Obviously, we're not even contacted until they have a firm offer that's been accepted. But I will say, once that offer is accepted, get on the phone, and whether it's us or somebody else, but get that locked up. Especially we're coming up to the season where, typically once you sign that agreement, you have 10 days to get the inspection in and ask for any, concessions, or if you're gonna, back out of the deal, whatever. A lot of times coming up April, May, and then through the summer, we're booked out, a lot of times 7, 8, sometimes 9 days.
Okay.
So, once you do have that signed agreement, get on the phone. So
that you're trying to get in those first 10 days, but that's depending a lot on your schedule as an inspector too, is that correct?
exactly. And so there are a few inspection firms around here that are multi-inspector, but most of them are just, like myself. It's me and my wife. She does the administrative end of it. I do the inspection. So there's only so many inspections I can do in a day and a week, and I do like days off here and there. So.
Zach, what did you do first? You mentioned that you saved a lot of money. You talked about it. What was your first step? Calling a realtor or doing something different?
I was fortunate at the time. My landlord was actually a realtor, so I kind of had it in there. She was I was good friends with one of her family members, so I had known her for quite a while, and so that certainly helped. But one of the first steps for me, my partner, was trying to educate ourselves on what all this means, because trying to purchase your first home, I learned that it's like almost a completely different language. It has its own jargon. What is that? What is earnest money? What is debt to income ratio? What is PMI? So just trying to educate ourselves a little bit on how does this all work? What is our local market like? So that a little bit of homework on Zillow, trying to see what were houses going for in the neighborhoods that we liked, and could we afford that? And then after all that, it was pretty critical to get established or find a good lender, and then try to get pre-approval. Because the point of pre-approval is when you can actually you know how much you can spend, and also it's time to kind of go shopping at that point.
All right. Twala, you are a realtor. What advice do you have for somebody who's looking for a realtor? How do they choose one? Do they just pick one out of the, wait, you won't use the phone book. Do they pick one out of Google, or what would you say is the best way to come up with a realtor?
Ask friends and family. They're usually a really good source. If you have a coworker, somebody that just purchased a home, ask them about their experience with their realtor. Going online, people, there's so many tools online to research. So if you have a few names you're thinking about, do some research, look for reviews about that person, get on your social media, because it's more than just the realtor. You really build a relationship with your realtor. And in this market, you're going to spend a lot of time together. So you want to like that person, organically have a good relationship with the realtor. And it's also important to have somebody that is a good listener and that you kind of can vibe with, because there's not every person's a good fit for everybody, and they can be equally as good at being a realtor, but just maybe not a good fit for you and your, how you like to communicate. You have some realtors who maybe just say they're not as tech savvy, so they may want to call you all the time. And if you're a millennial, you may want to text all the time. So it's just those kinds of things. You really want to interview a couple different people and just see who you get that good feeling from, who's gonna, work best for you. And also set expectations with each other. and really, know if there's some things you know you don't like, tell them right then and there. And communication is so important because you might be a person that you absolutely don't want somebody texting you after a certain time of day, and your realtor texts you at 8 o'clock, and you're like, ugh, So having those conversations and open communication is very important as well.
Great. So what you're saying is you need to kind of shop around for a realtor rather than pick the first person you meet necessarily.
Absolutely. And sometimes you meet that first person and you feel like this is the one, because maybe your mother said, this is the one, and you hit it off really well, right away. But yeah, it's always good to just talk to several different realtors, and sometimes you learn a little bit from each one that maybe you didn't learn from the first one. So yeah, it is good. You can't I said it's good to research. So you can't do too much research, but you don't want to get to the point where it's like analysis paralysis, where you can't make a decision. So you can get overwhelmed. But I would say, 3 to 4 at the most, and interview them and see who's the best fit for you and your family.
Great. Tim, I'm sure you work with lots and lots of different realtors. If somebody, your neighbor, came to you and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a realtor. What should I look for?" What would you tell them?
Like Twala said, it depends on their personality, and
Okay.
Some personalities match up with better. So obviously we do work with a lot of agents. So I just in my own head I think of who would be a good fit for them, and we see how different agents work, things like that. I will say Kalamazoo area has great agents. I hear from other inspectors just horror stories of all the agent wants is their commission. But I'm very blessed that I work in the Kalamazoo community. There's awesome agents around here, just tons of them. So
I'll agree with that. No, seriously,
outskirt areas.
Yeah, agents around here, I think a lot in the knowledge and the expertise. We've got some really, really good agents in this in our area here. So, yeah.
All right, great. I would remind the people watching at home that if you have questions for our panel of experts, I'm calling you more experts today, I hope that's okay. If you have a question for our panel of experts, you may put it in the comment section at the bottom, and we will try to get those questions answered this evening. We do want you to be learning while we're going along here. I'm wondering if we could just do a little bit of a glossary type thing to talk a little bit about some of the terms that Zack mentioned. He talked about escrow, he talked about PMI, he talked about debt reach, or some of those things. What do those mean, and why is it important to understand those things? Who wants to weigh in first?
I'll weigh in. Okay. I speak a little language.
I still don't know a lot of those.
So I don't know if you want to throw one at me and I explain it, or
Sure, let's talk about escrow. What's escrow?
So escrow is the time from when you have a fully executed sales agreement, which means everybody signed it, the buyer and the seller, they agreed upon a price. So there's going to be a time frame from that day when you have the accepted offer until the closing day. So that time period is considered the escrow period. Okay. There's also an escrow that refers to a fund that's kind of set aside with your mortgage that pays for your taxes and your homeowner's insurance. So there's 2 different kind of ways we use that word escrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything either of you want to mention about escrow, or something to help us understand that more, or is that good enough?
I think she hit the nail on the head.
Okay. What was one of your other glossary terms there, Zack?
Earnest money was one that I didn't know what it was until about 6 weeks into the whole process.
Okay.
So
Do you know what it is now?
I'm sure she knows
Oh,
better than
okay.
I do. It's, as I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when you have an accepted offer, it's more or less the down payment to show the seller that you are serious about buying the home.
Yes, yes. you're earnest about your offer. So yeah, it just shows a seriousness to the seller. And that earnest money deposit, when you place that earnest money deposit in in an account with, you're going to give it to your realtor or to a title company, it's held until closing day. And you do get credit for already making that earnest deposit at the time your offer was accepted. Um, the earnest deposit, a lot of people ask me, do I get my money back if I don't end up getting the house, or if the deal falls apart, or if I back out? So depending on how the contract is written, if you have changed any of the language in the already, kind of the boilerplate language in the contract. Um, if you back out because of something found during the home inspection, you are able to get your earnest deposit back. If you get cold feet, your 10-day inspection window has passed, you get cold feet before closing and you decide to back out, you can put your earnest money at risk at that point. It doesn't mean automatically you're going to lose it, but it definitely would give the seller some sort of grounds to say, hey, you took my house off the market, I could have sold it to somebody else, now I maybe lost out on another deal, and they could make a claim against that earnest deposit.
I see. Okay. Let's see. What were some of the other terms that you were throwing out there, Zach?
I heard
You remember what you said?
PMI was one of them, and debt to income ratio. Now, don't ask me what the latter one means.
Still doesn't know.
All right. Do you want to tell us about PMI?
Sure. So PMI is private mortgage insurance, and anytime you put down less than 20% down payment on a home, you're considered to be a little bit of a risk to the bank. So they have this private mortgage insurance that basically says if you default on your mortgage, that this private mortgage company will pay the bank so that they don't lose money on loaning you money. So it's an insurance policy to protect the bank.
Okay. And the debt to income ratio is?
So the debt to income ratio, so that's a number that the lender uses to see how much house you can afford to buy. And what they do, they look at how much you bring in, which is your gross income, and then how much goes out in debt service every month or debt payments. And then they just do the math. So they divide it. And whatever that percentage ends up being, they'll look at that, and they don't want your total debt to income ratio to be over it. The numbers kind of, it's different for each type of loan product. So I'm just gonna say like somewhere around 40%, with everything, your house payment, if you got a car note, if you have student loans, if you have credit card payments, they're gonna have a number that your debt to income ratio, they don't want it to exceed a certain amount. And then for a lot of them, they will want your house payment to not be more than about 25% of your gross income.
All right. If you have a realtor where you've tried to make offers on several different homes, and all have gone where you didn't want it to go, where you didn't end up getting the offer, is that a reflection on the realtor? Is that a reflection on the market? Is that a reflection on both? How do you judge that?
That's a loaded It could be a little bit of everything. It could be sometimes a less experienced realtor may not know a lot of different strategies to use to make an offer more attractive or to strengthen an offer. Sometimes it could be as simple as a relationship between, other realtors who may, have somebody that they like to work with, and they, tell their seller, oh, this is a great realtor to work with if the offers are real similar. There's so many factors that go into an offer, but there are ways and strategies to make your offer stand out. Your buying power is your buying power. And there's not much you can do about that. But there are other little tricks and tips and things that I can share that will help your offer stand out. One of the big things that I like to do is contact the listing agent and have a conversation, not a text message, but an actual old-fashioned phone call, and say, what do your sellers need? Do they need extra time in the house? Do they need, possession after closing? Um, what do they need? Because we obviously are playing to the seller, and we want to make that offer attractive to the seller. So if we know what the seller's needs are, then we're one step closer to writing an offer that the seller would like. There's escalation clauses that are being used. I don't know if you guys had to do anything like that. So you're basically telling the seller, I'm going to give an example of a house that's listed at 160. So you may go in and say, I'll give you 160. However, if there's another buyer willing to give you 165, I'll beat their offer by whatever amount you want to escalate. So by $1,000 up to a maximum of 170 or something like that. So anybody making an offer between, your 160 all the way up to 169, you're basically saying, I'll beat all of those, I'll pay 170. And so that is another way where if you don't need to spend all the way to 170, you may still get the house somewhere in between there. Appraisal tax. With the market that we're in, a lot of the homes are not appraising for the $20,000, $30,000 that people are overbidding. So if you have an appraisal gap that says, hey, Mr. Seller, I know I went over your asking price, and if the appraisal comes back and the shortfall, meaning it doesn't appraise for as much as I agreed to pay, I'll make up the difference. And you can have it where you make up the difference to a certain dollar amount. It could be 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, or it could be no limit. I'll just make up the difference, whatever that difference is. That's very attractive to a seller. And also, I will ask for repairs is another one, and actually waiving the home inspection altogether, which I do not recommend, viewers, and I'm sure you would not recommend that they do that. But those are just other, things that will help strengthen your offer, because you got to put yourself in the place of the seller. Usually, most important to a seller is how can you get me the most money and in the shortest amount of time. Those are usually the two things the seller wants. And if you can write your offer and give the seller most of what they want, then you got a good chance.
All right, great. Some good things there for you.
I will pipe in real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
It's just an incredibly tough market. So, and I've been doing inspections for people that have put in 7, 8, 9, 10 offers, and it's not. Sometimes it could be part of the agent, but sometimes you cannot beat when somebody from California comes in with a cash offer.
Yeah.
They're not going to do a home inspection. They're not going to do an appraisal. It doesn't matter how good the agent is. They're not going to beat that. So even we have some good agents that they're working doing what they can, but it's just such a tough market right now. So just because your offers are getting accepted doesn't mean that's not the right agent by any means. So
right. Yeah. And your buying power again is your buying power. So if you're approved for 165, 170,000, and you're going out and looking at homes that are priced at 170,000, because that's what people tend to do. They look at homes up to their buying power. You're probably going to be out of the game before you even write your offer, because if that's a house that ends up getting bid over, all you can do is write the 170. And so, yeah, it's a lot of it is not the buyer's agent. And I do get calls from people who want to jump agents. And I'm sure some of my buyers have probably called other agents like, my realtor, I've been looking for 6 months and she hasn't found me anything. And I have kind of talked people off the ledge, like, hey, sit down and have a conversation with your realtor, because it's probably not their fault. I said, this is a really tough market. It's not, we've not seen anything like this market before in our area. So it is, it's a really tough market. Yeah.
All right. I'm really glad I'm not trying to buy a home. I'm just saying, we're good where we are. We've talked a lot about the realtor end of things and the buyer end of things and the inspection end of things. How much goes into the lending institution? Does it vary how much one bank is going to loan one person versus another bank? How does somebody find where the best loan is or where to get the best mortgage?
Shop around. Yeah, shop around. A lot of times buyers think because they went and got pre-approved over here, if somebody else runs their credit, it's going to drop their score down. When you're shopping for a mortgage specifically, and you go and you get pre-approved somewhere, as long as you're going other places and shopping around within, I would say about a 30-day time frame, it's not going to affect your credit score. So definitely shop around, learn about the different products and services that each lender has. Because there's so many, there's like a myriad of loan products from more acronyms, FHA, VA, USDA, rural development, which is RD, conventional. So there's so many different loan products. Um, and each one has their own little, sometimes you'll go and maybe conventional is the best route for you. Or there may be a reason you can't go conventional. Maybe your credit score is not quite high enough, so they say, well, let's try this FHA. Or maybe you're a veteran, and so let's go with the veteran, VA loan. So definitely shop around, and also within that lender, ask about the different products that you qualify for. Look at the different down payment requirements because they're all going to be different. Look at the fees that they charge because all um, lending institutions, whether it's a bank, a credit union, or a mortgage company, they're going to have their own set of fees. And you can get a loan estimate from each one and compare apples to apples.
Does it make a difference if you already have a relationship with one bank? If you have a checking account or a credit card through one bank, are they going to be the one that gives you the best deal or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. That is a good place to start. You already have a banking relationship there. So yeah, definitely start there, see what they offer. A lot of times they can look at your accounts, they can pull them right up and you get a better idea. A lot of times they already have a soft pull on your credit report, so they can kind of look over your credit report without it being a hard inquiry. So yeah, definitely start there. But I wouldn't just go one place and done. I would definitely check with a couple more.
All right, great. Um, can I put you on the spot, Zach, and say did you shop around? How did you decide who to go with for your mortgage?
We shopped around a little bit, but we went. Both my partner and I bank at a local credit union, and we went with them basically. Much of what Twala said, they had all of our banking history. They had a soft pull on our credit reports, so that made it a little bit easier. We could have shopped around a little bit more, but once we met with the loan officer at our credit union, we were pretty comfortable with proceeding with them.
All right, cool. Um, so somebody makes an offer, it's accepted. You're talking about how after an offer is accepted, you usually have 10 days to get the home inspection and do all these other things. Um, let's see, first of all, what goes into the home inspection? We'll get back to Tim. What things are you looking at in the home and what things do you not look at?
So I guess a brief description of what a home inspection is. The definition is a non-invasive visual inspection of the property. So, we can't see through walls. We're not structural engineers, but we do a general inspection of the different components of the house. If it's safe, I do climb up on the roof. But, if it's too steep or there's, a foot of snow on there, obviously we can't do that. And then, check the exterior. One big thing is grading around the house, is the yard slope towards the house, away from the house? You just look at how water affects the house. Electric system, HVAC system, plumbing system, appliances. We check most appliances to make sure they're operating properly. And then, like I say, we give a full report with pictures describing what I found. And I do know a lot of times people get real nervous about the home inspection, and all I can say is it is what it is. I don't even know a percentage, but there's not too many homes I do that people feel like they need to back out of it because of the home inspection. But honestly, if it does get to that point, thank goodness you didn't buy the house, because you're going to hate it in short time. So, but yeah, like I said, and we do get the report out the same day. So even if we are booked 7-8 days out, just know that we'll get that out to you that same day. So
it sounds like you're saying that the home inspector has to know a little bit about all the different systems of the home.
Right. So what we're referred to as generalists. We're not really experts in any area, but we know enough about each area too. And sometimes we do, like if I do see some movement to the foundation wall, sometimes I do recommend getting a structural engineer out to, check the condition of that. They're experts. They got degrees after degrees to be able to do that. And sometimes we do, maybe refer to an electrician. I try not to as much as possible, because I do know, that can be an added cost. But again, you want to know exactly what's going on there.
In a normal scenario, who pays for the home inspection? Is it something that is factored into the sale price of the home? Is it something that the buyer buys separately, or is it all dependent on the situation?
Typically, it's the buyer. So I know you were talking earlier about earnest money. So the other two things I can think of, because it does sometimes catch people by surprise, is so you sign the agreement, you got to write that check for the earnest money. Then a few days later, you're paying for the home inspection, and then the other thing is the appraisal. I think that normally comes out of the buyer's pocket. So is that correct?
You're correct.
Yeah. So there is right when you sign, there is some money going out, so you do have to keep that in mind. That's all on top of any down payment money and closing costs. So yeah, I do hear my wife on the phone often. I know everybody's reaching in the back pocket right now. So and it is true. There's money going out then. So just be aware that does happen.
Twala, you mentioned that some people choose not to have home inspections so that they don't have to pay that extra, and they're taking a gamble and guessing. How do you decide whether you need to, I'm losing my train of thought. Whether you need an appraisal or not? Who decided that?
So the lender, if you're not paying cash for the property, the lender requires an appraisal to make sure that the property value is adequate for the loan that they're going to give you. Now, FHA and VA, they have an appraisal that includes what we call a mini inspection, because they want to make sure the major mechanicals and some of the other parts of the house have enough life left in them, or are in fairly good condition, because again, they're loaning you thousands and thousands of dollars, and they just want to make sure that your roof isn't going to go bad on you a month or two after you're in the house, and then you stop paying the mortgage payment. So those types of homes do have a mini inspection that goes along with the appraisal. And then in addition to home inspections, radon inspections, if you could talk a little bit about that, would be cool. And then pest inspections.
Yeah, so radon, it's a gas that's formed in the earth, literally comes right up through your basement floor. All of lower Michigan is considered a high risk for radon. There are different pockets where, like Millwood area is notorious for high radon levels. I get some high readings in Parchment, but I get low readings there too. The only way to know is to have it tested. And the EPA recommends if it's above 4 picocuries per liter that you do have a mitigation system installed. It's a pretty simple system. They're pretty effective at lowering the levels of radon. Excuse me. Cost is typically around $800 to $1,000 for that system. As far as the testing goes, we charge $100 for that. But like I say, the only way to know is to have it tested. We do recommend it. And then, yeah, the wood destroying insects. Some inspectors do those inspections themselves. Like I say, we partner with Pest Pros of Michigan. If you do want a wood destroying insect inspection, we set that up for you. So you don't have to make another phone call. And typically they're out there at the same time. We're doing the home inspection, but they're checking for termites, carpenter ants, carpenter bees, powder post beetles, wood boring beetles, things like that. Part of their inspection doesn't include like, mice, rodents. It's just the wood destroying insects. And again, they issue a report the same day on their findings. And I think it is an important inspection. If you've got termites, well, all of them, they can tear a house down one bite at a time. So.
Wow. Is it normal in a home inspection to look for things like you mentioned rodents? Like, are you looking for signs of rodents, or is that something that's beyond your?
So again, that is outside there's what's called I'm losing my train of thought here. Scope of the inspection. That's not part of it, but certainly if I see it, it goes in the report. Okay. Same with, certain things like, nowadays crystal meth or mold, or, I don't specifically inspect those or test for them. But certainly, if I do see those things, it is reported and pointed out.
I would imagine there's things like bed bugs, things like that. It would be another thing that'd be like, okay, this is something we got to, report if we notice it.
Sure. Yeah. And like I say, if I do see it, I do report it. And again, the pest control company, if there are concerns, they can do a full inspection on any of those types of things too. Obviously, extra charge for it for their time, but yeah, if you're concerned about that, they can do those inspections.
You mentioned inspecting the roof, inspecting the foundation wall, things like that. Does an inspector normally inspect the attic or crawl space or things like that, or are those beyond the scope of an inspection?
No, typically, and again, it's, crawl space. If I'm able to access it safely, I do. Same thing with attics. Okay. But if you get in a house that's, 4 or 5 years old, going up into the attic, it's got, 14, 15 inches of insulation. It's just not safe, not practical to walk up there. So I do the best I can to see what I can. And I also use an infrared camera, which again, it's not X-ray, which some people think it is, but it is something that it does allow me to see certain signs that you can't see with the naked eye. Mainly I use it for, fighting moisture issues. But again, it's not X-ray, but it is another tool I use to help be able to, do a better inspection, more thorough inspection. So, but yeah, typically if, it's safe, same thing with, electric panels. If, there's clear access to it, I'll pull the cover to check for any issues in there. But if they got literally had one where they had like a vase collection in front of the electric panel, for liability reasons, I opted to take that one off. So.
All right. We do have a question that I'm going to bring up here from one of our regulars, Dorothy Jordan. Thank you for weighing in, Dorothy. She said, in a normal market, what things do buyers expect to be updated in a home they will purchase, especially in an older home, or request a price cut on the house if things are not done? And she said, I'm signed an owner of an older home, 1921.
Just getting ready to sell.
So in an older home, I'll just start with this. Everybody watches HGTV. Everybody wants all the bells and whistles that they see on HGTV, But if I always encourage a seller, kitchens and bathrooms tend to really sell homes. So if you're gonna put money anywhere, do some things in the kitchens and the bathrooms. It doesn't have to be a full remodel, but just some things. It could just be paint, and paint is fairly inexpensive. If you're a decent painter, you can, paint yourself. But do you want your home to show in the best light possible? Curb appeal is huge. When people drive by, you want to, depending on the season we're in or the time of year, You just want your home to attract people from the curb because you got to get on the side of the home. There's a lot of people who love 1920s homes. And, usually they have the really nice oak floors and the good, oak trim and all of that. So you play up the best features of the home, but definitely, um, you want to make smart investments, and without me walking through the home, it's hard to pick and, say what to do and what not to do. You want the home to be safe, depending on the price point you're in. Um, you may be getting a first-time buyer. A lot of times they don't have a whole lot of money to go in and make, major repairs. So if you can make sure your roof is sound, your furnace is, not from 1921. The water heater, the electrical system safe, those major mechanical things are very important to a lot of, buyers, home buyers, especially first-time buyers. Um, Buyers you can price your house knowing that it needs things and price it because it needs things, but a lot of times a buyer will then come in and say, oh, $10,000, we got to redo this. And you already accounted for it in your list price, but they're going to come in and further say, well, this carpet is the shag from the 70s. It's got all gold, and that's going to be $5,000. And we got to paint the whole house, that's $3,000. And so they're taking your price that you've already accounted for the repairs needed, and they're taking more money off of your price. So the more things that you can update, have your realtor walk through the house with you and show you where you can get the biggest bang for your buck. And a lot of times, like I said, if the house is nice and clean, you got fresh paint on the wall, the house is, structurally sound, you should be able to do okay, in a normal market.
Normal market.
I just want to point out, I don't know if this is exactly what she was asking, but I do get sometimes based on a home inspection. It's usually from, I call it the day inspection, when the parents show up for their kid's first house. There is some people think that there are certain things based on inspection that have to be repaired before the house can be sold, but there is, in a sale of a home, there is absolutely nothing that needs to be done. There's no, I guess, code requirements, anything like that. Houses are sold as is. So, like I said, I don't know if that's where she was kind of going with it, but there are, as a buyer, you can't demand from the seller this has to be done. They can say, yeah, we'll do it, or no, we'll move on to the next person. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
but I also want to reiterate, I don't know if it was from someone that's looking at selling. Seriously, if you are thinking about selling, whether it's a year, 2 years from now, get a hold of an agent, consult with them. Hey, we're thinking about making some improvements. Consult them to say what's going to be the best bang for our buck.
All right.
That way you don't make the walls red or something like that.
Right.
I'm gonna put Zack a little on a hot seat a little bit. Were there things, I'm just curious, were there things that came up in your home inspection that you didn't expect, that the home inspector found that you were surprised about?
Yes. Well, before we purchased the home that we ended up in, we had an accepted offer on another home about 2 months prior. And we were, got an accepted offer. We were so excited. We got our first house. Everything was fine and dandy. And then we had our home inspection by Mr. Tim over here.
Oh, well,
And,
throw him under the bus, right?
I'm sure I'm glad that we paid the fee to have him come through because he uncovered some very serious issues that would have cost us northward of over $10,000 to get remedied. If we had not, it would have been much more costly down the road if not addressed. So at that point, due to the cost, we decided to back out. In the home that we did end up in, there were some, I would say, relatively minor issues, things that we could live with, that we could take care of over the next several years that wouldn't be such an urgent, critical, severe issue. So to answer your question, kind of yes and no, there were some issues uncovered, but all within, the realm of what we could manage.
I have another question. This one is from Karen Smith. And Karen says, if someone is selling a home, is it a good idea to have someone come in and stage the house? Who wants to weigh in on that?
I'll weigh in. Yes, stage homes do sell faster and they sell for more money, properly staged. Yeah, so if you have a professional staging company coming in, you are going to see your home is going to sell faster and it's going to sell for more money. And a good professional stager, they can take a home that does have some dated features in the home and play those up, and also with the items that they bring in for staging. Because there's so much that goes into staging. It's not just going and picking out furniture and putting it in a house. You actually want to stage to the demographic that you're trying to sell to. So if you're trying to sell a condo to retirees in a certain area, you want to stage the home to that demographic, because different generations of people may have different tastes in even furnishings. So a good stager is going to know who their market is, and they're going to be able to stage that home for the, they want to get the biggest pool of buyers possible, but there's also like usually a demographic that's going to go after that home.
All right. We're almost out of time. Zach, do you have anything you'd like to add that you were really itching to get out there that you weren't able to share?
I would just say to any first-time home buyer, especially in this market, be patient and don't give up. You will eventually get your keys. It may take some time, as it did for me, but just don't give up and have as much patience as you can. And I know I'm one that I can't really talk too much to that. I was very impatient. wanted my house now, but now that we're in the home, reflecting on it, it's just I would think patience is virtue.
All right. I'm going to go next to Tim. Is there anything you'd like to add that you weren't able to share so far?
I would just like Zach said, don't give up. It's a dog eat dog market right now. I can't imagine trying to buy right now. And I know it'll get frustrating, but you'll get there. You will get there. The market's got to turn at some point. I don't see it coming anytime soon. But I kind of look at it as there's a reason for things happening the way they do, and just don't give up. You'll get there eventually. And maybe one benefit of it is you'll learn. Like I say, almost always when somebody, like Zach's case where the deal fell through, the second house, a lot of times there's a lot more about that house that fits you than the first one did. Not just maybe something with the home inspection, but just the house overall. You learn a little bit more each time, and be patient.
All right. And Twala, would you like to wrap things up with the last word?
Definitely patience. Don't give up. I always feel what's for you is for you. So because you missed out on one, maybe that wasn't the one for you. So don't give up. When you're looking for a house, I know a lot of people, when it's a financial thing like buying a house, they like to kind of keep it a little private. Tell everybody hey, I am looking for a house. Tell your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, if they know of anybody thinking about selling, to let you know, because sometimes you can snag a deal off market before that person ever lists it, and now you don't have all that competition. So tell everybody that you're looking for a house and have them, join your house hunting team, and let them go out and look for houses for you too. Because there's so many other houses than what realtors see on the MLS. There's, people that, moving out of state and they haven't listed the house yet, or there's a house just sitting vacant. That's an estate property where somebody passed away and the family just hasn't had time to deal with it. So somebody usually in your circle or your sphere, they know of a house that is not on the market, but it is for sale. And so, yeah, tell everybody that you need a house.
All right. Thank you very much for those last words. Again, our guests tonight were Twala Lockett-Jones from Lockett-Jones Realty Group, Tim Williams from Timberland
Home Inspections.
Home Inspections. Okay, inspections. Okay, and Zack Hunkens, who works here at Community Homeworks, is a new first-time home buyer. So thank you all very much for sharing your knowledge with us tonight. We got a lot of stuff out in the open. I'm sure we could go on for days like this with more questions, but we will end it now. Again, thank you all very much at home for tuning in. If you would like to join us live next week, our workshop next week will be Introduction to Hand Tools with Lee Taylor as the instructor. And we will be doing that both on the virtual platforms as well as in person. So if you would like to join us there, please give us a call at Community Homeworks 269-998-3275 or email to education@communityhomeworks.org, and we will try to get you signed up. Hopefully we can have our online registration up and running shortly. A reminder, Community Homeworks is a nonprofit organization, and we rely on things like grants and donations to keep our programs running. If you are able and feel like you got something out of tonight's workshop, please cruise on over to the Community Homeworks website. That's communityhomeworks.org, and you can make a donation there. We really appreciate it. It helps us to keep these programs going. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you to our guests once again. Have a great evening, everyone.